Today I'm going to be walking you through how to make 3-ingredient lotion bars. So this is one of my favorite homemade products to make at home. One, because it's super easy. Second, it's really simple. It's only 3 ingredients. And the third reason, which is probably most important to me, our lotion bars moisturize your skin, at least my skin, better than regular lotion. So thank you so much. I want to welcome you for joining me with this tutorial today. My name is Melissa K. Norris. I am the author of The Made From Scratch Life, which this exact recipe is in the Made From Scratch Life because it covers not only homemade body care, but also cooking from scratch and raising your own things, totally a Made From Scratch Life, hence the title. So this recipe is going to be shared from that book today. And I also have the Pioneering Today podcast and the blog melissaknorris.com. In this wintertime, especially, as soon as you get that first freeze or the air kind of turns cold, it seems like all the moisture is like taken out of the air and therefore out of our hands. Plus, if we're doing a lot of baking, the holidays are coming up. And for the guys or the ladies who may work outside, our skin, especially with a lot of wind that comes up in the cooler weather, our skin gets really dry and kind of chapped, right? So one of the great things about a lotion bar is it's actually a bar. It's a hard form of oils. And when you put it on your skin, you just rub it, your body heat will melt it, and then it gets into your skin, and it is a much better emollient, in my opinion, than regular lotion because it stays longer and it actually penetrates down deep and helps hold the moisture into your skin. So you don't have to use as much, which is another great thing and makes it frugal. Plus, they're very portable, so you can take them with you. You don't have to worry about liquid, spilling out and that kind of a thing. So lotion bars are just like my favorite thing in the whole wide world for hands and elbows and feet and all that thing. The one word of caution, if you do put it on your feet, make sure you put socks on because if you walk on linoleum, you will go a-sliding. So just true story, word of warning there. So for our homemade lotion bars today, we're going to be using 3 ingredients. And the first ingredient is going to be shea butter. So you do need to have a scale because we're using equal parts of all 3 ingredients, and so we can't really do it by measurement because there's different weights there, so we need to do it with a scale. So this is just a little food scale. I got it off of Amazon for less than, I think it's like $8 or $9. And so we're going to just take our measuring cup here and make sure we hit it to tare so that it is not actually measuring the weight of the cup. So I've also got here a pot with warm water in it and then a Pyrex measuring bowl on top to create a double boiler. So that's how we're going to melt all of these together. So I'm going to do the shea butter first because this is actually my most solid ingredient and it's going to take a little bit longer to melt. And this is all I have left of the shea butter. So I need to make sure that I'm measuring this one first so that I can measure the other ingredients to what I've got of this. Oh, make sure we get that set to 0 on my scale there. Okay. So another option that you can use if you don't have shea butter or if you want to give it a little bit of a chocolatey flavor, which we all like chocolate, right, would be to use cocoa butter. So you could also use cocoa butter as well in place of the shea butter, but I happen to have shea butter on hand. So that is what I'm going to go with here. The other great thing too is these are all really natural, great ingredients. So we don't have to worry about putting chemicals and, weird things like that absorb into our skin because our skin is our largest organ and what we put onto that then enters into our bloodstream and our bodies. Okay, so I'm at 0.144 pounds on this. I probably should have set it to ounces, but I didn't. So 0.144 is what we're going to measure all these out. So I'm going to be putting this shea butter here right in the double boiler. And the great thing is my hands are going to be super nice and moisturized after just making this. Okay, so next ingredient up that I'm going to do is just good old coconut oil. So I have unrefined coconut oil here, virgin, which is what I normally use. Many of you probably just have this already sitting in your cupboard, so it's great to be able to use. And coconut oil melts pretty fast, so that's why I'm doing the shea butter first, and then we're going to enter this in. Perfect. Okay, so we're at the 0.144 on our coconut oil. So now we're going to put that in there, and we're going to just give it a little bit of a stir because it's already starting to melt. And I've got the heat on my double boiler here for my electric stove set on medium. I'm going to turn it down just a tad bit. So the next thing that we're adding to this is beeswax. I'm going to just rub some of that oil into my hands right now. With the beeswax, there's two options that you can do. One, these are pellets. So this is beeswax pellets. The nice thing about these is they're very quick to measure out. They're very easy to measure out, and they're going to melt faster because they're in a smaller form. The other form of beeswax that you can get, I actually got this from our local beekeeper, is like this, is in chunk form. But you're gonna have to break it up. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult to measure. But the great thing is you can support someone locally, and usually, then of course you're not paying shipping. So that's a really nice thing as well. But for today's sake, because I'm doing this, trying to keep this on a time budget here, give this a little bit of stir as we're melting, I'm gonna go ahead and use the pellets instead. Just gonna pour those in. This part is probably the fastest one measuring wise. And this is why we measure by weight, because I'm actually using more of these pellets. If you look as far as volume-wise, if you're just eyeballing it, there we are, our exact measurement, than the other oils were. So here's our measurement. We're gonna just dump all of that in. Now you can make this as big or little of batch as you want. We're just gonna stir this together until it's all melted and it's completely liquefied, which really does not take very long. And I always use the double boiler method just because I don't want to scorch any of the oils. Some people might just do it directly in the pan on the heat. I've just always used the double broiler method. You don't have to use glass. You could totally use a regular double boiler, but the reason I like to use this one is because it's got the handle and it has the pour spout. So what we're going to do is after this becomes all the way liquefied, which the beeswax pellets will be melting here quickly, we have to have some type of a form. So we need to have a form of some type. This is kind of like soap making, but different ingredients. We're going to be pouring it into a form and allowing it to cool, and then that's going to create our hard lotion bar. So there's lots and lots of options for forms. If you don't want to purchase something, I've got these silicone little baking muffin tins. I use these for everything from baking muffins to putting snacks in, to making candy in, to making lotion bars in. So you can use muffins like these, little muffin tins. You can also use these like little silicone candy molds. If you've got some candy molds, use those. This actually, believe it or not, came off of the top of some packaging at the store that I work for. And I looked at it and I'm like, that is the perfect palm-sized shape for a lotion bar. So I have had this, it's just, like I said, it's just packaging that came off of something we got in the store when we were unpacking like 4 or 5 years ago when I was making my lotion bars. And that's what I use. Now, the next thing that you could do as well is you can take any kind of form and just wrap it with some parchment paper. And so you could pour this is just a little tiny old bread pan. And you could pour this in that, and then after it's cooled, then you would just cut it into bars like you would if you were making soap. So there's lots and lots of different options available for you. Just get really creative. You can put it in anything that you want to as far as creating a form. And of course, there's really fun soap molds if you want to make them really pretty them up as gifts and that kind of a thing that you can find. But I like to just use what I've already got on hand. So I'm going to be doing, I hope that I have enough. I'm actually out of these lotion bars myself. I just have a little bit of smidgen of one left. So I'm going to do some in here, and then if I've got enough oil left over, then I will probably into here. I don't think that I actually have enough of the oil here deep enough to go into the little bread pan. But you can do boxes. You can line anything with the parchment paper and put it in there. Yeah, mini muffins would work great. The little mini muffin cups, those would work great. It just need to be something that it won't stick to or that you can pull out once it's hard to pop it out of. So that's why I say line this, with some parchment paper or that kind of a thing. Okay, so guys, this is completely liquefied. And you can see it's all melted down here and it's all liquid. So this is our liquid lotion bars. But you can scent it. So I said 3 ingredient lotion bars, which is true. You can make them just like this and that's great. But if you want to scent them up, which is really fun, you can create different scents. So I use essential oils. If you're using essential oils as your scent, because this is going on our skin, right, and will be absorbed into our body, please make sure that the essential oil that you're using says it's fine to be using externally and that it can be applied. So after this is all liquefied and hot here, I'm going to remove it off and we're going to put in some of our essential oils and do up your favorite combinations of flavors. Just make sure, like I said, that the essential oil that you're using is safe to apply to the skin. So some that you would need to be, really careful with, those spicy ones or that could burn the skin, just proceed with caution, do a little bit of research. But what I'm going to be using today is orange and peppermint, because peppermint is one of my favorite scents, especially with orange. So for this size of a batch, you can kind of just do it to, I usually end up doing about 10 to 12 drops total. And so I'm going to be doing, and peppermint's a little bit stronger as far as scent wise. So before this cools down too much, I'm going to go ahead and count these in, and I'm going to do 5 drops of the peppermint here. Oh my goodness, you guys, it smells so good. Now that we've got all of our essential oils in here and our scents, and this is stirred, we're just going to start pouring it into our molds here. So here is my little mold. And we're just going to go ahead and pour in there. And that's why I like to use this, because it's got a handle and it's got a pour spout. So I'm just going to top these off here. And like I said, you can double, you can triple. It's all just equal in 3 parts of these the 3 main oils. So you got shea butter or cocoa butter, coconut oil, and beeswax in 3 equal parts, and then whatever scent that you want. So I'm actually, for a little bit of fun, I'm going to fill one of these with this, a larger one, and then top this off. So you can see that this cools relatively quick from just me pouring it where this glass was cooler. It's already on the side here. But go ahead and take your spatula, and I just keep putting it in here. It will fill in and all cool in one solid piece. This is just starting to cool a little bit faster. So I will just, so that we don't waste this bunch of oil here on the side of the pour spout. Add a little bit in there. Okay guys, there we go. That is how you make your lotion bars. So these just have to continue to cool. They'll set up, and they'll actually be set up probably within at least, they'll actually start to harden with just in a few hours, but I usually let them go for at least a full 12. Any scent combination that you want to use will work just fine. So go ahead and play around with some of your favorite scents that you want to do, and that will be totally fine. So with my molds, this was actually a package that came on, I think it was a pack of candles, and it was on the top of this candles. So I just look for anything that's a design and shape that I want. I like to do a little bit smaller because then it's more portable, and I can actually just take it in my hand and go like that. These last for a very long time though. So after they are done, and you can grab all of the links, and I will make sure that I go back in and link to some of this stuff at melissaknorris.com/lotion singular. So how do I package my lotion bars? So once these are completely cooled and solidified, there's a couple different ways that you can do it. You can just put them in a plastic baggie. You can wrap them up in like saran wrap and tie them. And a lot of the times, I will totally be truthful with you, I just leave them as is in a drawer. You could put down some parchment paper, but unless, even in the summertime, they stay hard. They don't get melty. Now, if you left them in a car and you live like in Arizona where it's super, super hot, they could maybe start to melt down. I've never had that problem, even in the middle of summer. Another thing that I'll do, especially with these smaller ones, is, you know, like Altoids or some of those little metal tins, I will just put them in some of those smaller tins, and close it up, and then I'll just take it with me, and I kind of will line that. You can line it with parchment paper as well if you want to, and then I'll just take that with me because I keep some in my car to use, and then I'll put some in my purse, and then of course I keep them in the bathroom on the counter, and actually even keep one by my computer to lotion my hands. I keep them all around the house. They're just everywhere. But when you're gift giving, another thing that can be really fun too is you can also put them, you can wrap them in a little bit of parchment paper if you want, and then slide them into some of those little burlap gift bags. I love those. They are so good, and they're breathable. And they're really rustic and pioneer, right? What's more rustic and pioneer than burlap? So I will put them in there. And as far as shelf stability, you know, these are all shelf stable oils that are not going to go rancid. So I would say once that you have made them, you probably will go through them relatively fast. But I've had some where I found that I had put back when I made a big stash for at least a year, but really probably 1 to 2 years, depending upon the age of like your coconut oil when you first used it. But these are all shelf stable oils. Beeswax will last essentially forever. I don't think that that one would ever go bad. So that's the great thing. These aren't going to go rancid really quick, and they're going to be shelf stable in their form for a really long time. So these are one of my favorite things to do. And like I said, you can do lots of different scents. It's totally up to you, or you can leave them unscented. Either way that you want to go is totally fine. So these will harden down. As you can see here, since I poured them, they were all liquid. So they are already cooling. and they're already hardening up. So these will be solid. They'll still be soft, like you could take your fingernail and push into it and make an indent, but they're completely solid lotion bar, which is really cool. They work really, really well. Like I can't tell you how good, especially a lot of us, I don't know, in the wintertime too, or when you're working outside or wind chapter, just if you have really dry skin. Anybody ever have where you'll have on the end of your fingers, you know, like they'll actually crack and bleed when they get really, really dry and it's super painful? These totally help. I think that they work better. They keep the moisture actually in your skin and hold it in much longer than regular lotion or body butter. I love all those things, but these are really, really good for this time of year. Plus, they do make great gifts and they travel well. Never tried lotion bars before. It's a hard form of lotion. I highly recommend giving them a try. Plus, goes together like 10-15 minutes. So the supplies last a long time, and because they're in this hard form, you don't have the fillers. So you don't have a filler of water. You don't have a lot of those things are just fillers that actually don't benefit your skin at all. So when it's in this form, you're just getting straight moisturization. You don't have all those fillers and you're using a very small amount, which makes them last a lot longer and makes them more frugal to make, which I love. Yes, if you want to use them for lip balm, you can just pour them into a tube. Eyedropper is especially helpful for pouring into those little tiny tubes. Or here's the other thing that I do if you don't want to go that route, is when I'm using it on my hands, of course you'll want to wash your hands, but I just actually rub it, the heat from your lips, I'll just rub a little bit onto my lips and it works that way as well. So thank you guys so much and have a great day.